Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host,
Shane Bigham, with you on this Friday, May 29th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, China is calling for greater efforts to advance United Nations reforms. China and other nations have expressed alarm over security and territorial discussions between Japan and the Philippines. And there are conflicting reports about a possible memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran. In business, previewing the China-South Asia Expo coming up in Kunming. In sports, a major upset at the French Open. In culture and entertainment, a small-budget Chinese film continues its surprising success at the domestic box office. Now checking the day's top stories. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi called for efforts to advance UN reform to make the world body more efficient and the Security Council more authoritative and capable. They're among the 9 proposals to advance global governance reform. Wang attended a meeting of the Group of Friends of Global Governance at the United Nations headquarters in New York. China launched the initiative last year to deepen cooperation on major global governance issues. Over 40 nations are the founding members, including Cuba, Iran, Kenya, and Kazakhstan. Mitch McCann reports from New York.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi told the Group of Friends of Global Governance on Thursday that the world faces a situation that's both turbulent and fluid, but expressed optimism that the group could bring about meaningful change, saying it now has more than 60 members.
Reforming and improving global governance is a task that history has given to our generation. We must remain confident and make unremitting efforts.
The group was founded by China in 2025 with the goal of planning reforms and improvements to global governance to ensure the multilateral system is more responsive to a multipolar world. At Thursday's meeting in New York, Wang Yi put forward 9 proposals for global governance reform, including improving the effectiveness of the Security Council, deepening reform of the global economic system, establishing rules governing AI, and improving the overall efficiency of the United Nations.
Though not perfect, the UN remains the most authoritative platform for global governance. The purpose of reform is to strengthen, not weaken the UN. We should uphold the leading role of member states and ensure fairness, inclusiveness, and transparency.
Representing the UN itself was Deputy Secretary-General Amina J. Mohammed, who said the UN must reflect the weight of the 21st century, adding that multilateralism hadn't let the world down, multilateralism had been let down. She said it was important for the UN's most powerful nations to be heard.
It is manifestly in the interests of all those who hold the most power to be on the front lines of reform and not on the sidelines. Legitimacy is the foundation on which power rests. When the foundation goes, the power that sits on this does not last. Reform takes courage.
Meanwhile, the Group of Friends of Global Governance also heard from the Foreign Minister of Cuba, who used the opportunity to condemn the United States over reported threats toward his country, saying it was important to firmly reject unilateralism and support peace.
The threat of the use of force against Cuba by the world's greatest nuclear military power is coupled with the suffocating tightening of its economic, commercial, and financial blockade against our country, exacerbated by an oil embargo equivalent to a naval blockade.
After presiding over Tuesday's UN Security Council meeting, China's signature event for the month, and one of the Group of Friends of Global Governance initiative's key gatherings, Wang Yi now heads north to Canada for more meetings with officials.
That was Mitch McCann on the Chinese foreign minister's visits. The Chinese foreign minister says the Group of Friends of Global Governance has reached consensus on 5 key points. All members support the democratization of international relations. They call for upholding the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and support safeguarding the central role of the UN. Members also support reforming and improving global governance and narrowing the North-South divide. They call for addressing the most pressing challenges facing the international community through actions and results. And for more on this, Zhao Eng spoke to Dr. Xia Lu from the National Academy of Development and Strategies, Renmin University of China.
What stood out to you among the 9 proposals put forward by Foreign Minister Wang Yi for global governance reform?
First of all, it was the promoting the efficiency of the United Nations reform. Actually, we know that the United Nations itself has also faced a lot of challenging. One of the challenges is the efficiency. I think the proposal emphasizes streamlining the UN, the United Nations Secretariat, cutting unnecessary procedure and meeting. So this proposal directly addresses the long-standing issue of the inefficiency in global governance institutions. So this proposal ensures resources are focused on the key global problems rather than on the procedural thing. Secondly, I think the proposal is the boosting the authority and the capacity of the Security Council. This proposal calls for a greater voice for developing and small medium countries, especially prioritizing the resolution of historical injustices in areas like Africa. So this proposal targets the core imbalance of global power distribution, aiming at making the decision-making process more inclusive and representative, particularly representative among the developing countries. Last but not least, I think one of the proposals stand out is to forge the international consensus on accelerating development. We know that development is also one of the questions facing the global international community. So this proposal pushes for putting development back at the center of the United Nations agenda and urges developed countries to fulfill their funding commitment or the fundamental commitment. And this proposal recognizes that development is the root solution to many global issues. Actually, it's the fundamental kind of problem to all the global issues, from poverty to climate change. And this proposal also seeks to bridge the North and the South gap in terms of the globalization, promoting a more equitable global development pattern.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi said that China will host a forum on global governance in the Xiong'an New Area, Hebei province, this autumn. What do you think are the reasons why Xiong'an is chosen as the host city, and what is your expectation for the forum?
First of all, Xiong'an symbolizes China's new development concept. We know that Xiong'an New Era is a national level new area positioned as the model for high quality development in the new era ever since the 18th National Congress of the CPC in 2012. So hosting the Global Governance Forum here in Xiong'an will showcase China's practice and achievement in promoting green, intelligent, sustainable development, and so on and so forth. And it also sends a signal to the outside world that global governance should focus on innovative development model that balance economic growth, ecological protection, and social progress, particularly on the development of human beings. The second reason for Xiong'an to be chosen as the host of the Global Governance Forum is that it is located near Beijing and Tianjin. We know that Xiong'an just less than 80 kilometers away from Beijing. So, and also Xiong'an also very near to the city of Tianjin. So Xiong'an has the convenient transportation links to the national capital and the major economic hubs in northern China. So this location facilitates participation by international delegates, Chinese governmental officials, and experts from a different field. So it also reflects China's emphasis on coordinating regional development and integrating global governance concept with local practice. It can also echo the hosting of the APEC in Shenzhen and Guangzhou. So that means that China in this year will be doing more important kind of contribution to the international community, and China will hold more responsibility as a responsible and a major power in the world. So what we can expect is that not only in the diplomatic area, but also in development, the poverty alleviation, and common prosperity area, China will contribute more to the world, not only representing developing country, but also representing the power.
That was Dr. Xia Lu from Renmin University of China. Many countries have expressed support for China's global governance initiative. Officials, including the foreign ministers of Pakistan and Zimbabwe, say it puts multilateralism at the center and advocates for the global South.
Pakistan deeply values China's role as a stabilizing force in international affairs and appreciates its consistent support for the sovereignty, development, and prosperity of developing nations. The initiative seeks to reform and improve, not replace the existing international system. It reinforces the centrality of the United Nations while advocating greater representation and voice for the global South in global decision-making processes.
We think it is very important because it's dealing with multilateral issues, making sure that multilateralism is at the center of global governance and inclusivity as well, in terms of financial architecture, in terms of making sure that there is respect amongst civilizations and everybody is included on the table, is the most important initiative during this time when multilateralism is being challenged.
Chinese President Xi Jinping proposed the Global Governance Initiative at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Plus meeting in Tianjin last year. The initiative urges countries to collaborate in creating a fair and more equitable global governance system. Its 5 principles include respecting sovereign equality, adhering to international rule of law, practicing multilateralism, advocating the people-centered approach, and focusing on taking tangible actions. Against the backdrop of severe challenges to the current international order, China's presented its solutions to improve global governance. Wang Mengzhe sat down with City University of Hong Kong scholar Ho Tat Kei to discuss how China's experiences in urban governance could benefit its people and the world.
How to reform and improve global governance to make it more relevant in a multipolar world? That is a consequential question occupying minds everywhere. For China, a people-centered approach is one of the core answers. This is reflected in further optimized government services, for example, Beijing's citizen hotline system.
How do you think the Beijing municipal government services can better and more equitably benefit public?
Focus on people's interests is very important. But I think what's unique about the Beijing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hotline system and also the Chinese hotline system in general is that I think we have put it into a higher horizon. We definitely are very people-focused, right? We are focused on what problems and what concerns people have, but we add on to that using technological approach, data evidence-based approach to handle the problem, and to analyze the problem, to equate the problem, and to track the problems.
Your article mentioned the Chinese paradigm in regards to urban governance. So how do you interpret Chinese paradigm and what are your observations here?
The government is doing something for the people to enhance their well-being, to solve their problems. By the people, they have channels to participate, to express their opinion, and of the people, they together form the government, right? They are the government. So from that perspective, if you put democratic governance from that perspective, I suddenly realized that China has our own paradigm of urban governance and democratic governance. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a mechanism that allows people to participate. China paradigm of urban governance, of responsive policy making, of democratic governance is that we are transparent, we are accountable, we are responsive, we are data evidence-based, and we are participatory.
And it's not just the citizens who benefit. Beijing's hotlines are available 24/7 with multilingual services, which can help address the obstacles foreigners encounter in work and life.
So what's your take on the government services which are getting more globalized and inclusive?
I mean, that's great because Beijing is an international city, and so the fact that they open up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hotline to people with different language and cultural background is I think a pioneer service. The fact that they have multiple languages, I believe they have 10 languages now, meaning that people feel welcome.
With advanced technologies, Ho says Beijing's municipal government has offered a new frontier for public service, bringing participation by all peoples.
That was a report on China's people-centered approach in governance. Coming up, regional concerns over security and territorial discussions between Japan and the Philippines.
China's securities regulator has launched a major crackdown on illegal cross-border securities activities, targeting online brokerages operating outside the country's regulatory framework. Why is Beijing acting now? What risks are regulators trying to contain? And does this signal a new era of stronger oversight in China's financial markets? This week on the Chat Lounge, we unpack the motives, market impact, and broader implications of China's latest regulatory move. Listen wherever you get your podcasts and on CGTN Radio.
15 minutes past the hour. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. held talks in Tokyo as the two nations seek closer cooperation in defense and security. The move has sparked public concern in both countries, citing a growing regional instability and security risks. Najib Elkash has more from Tokyo.
Transfer of the Japanese Abukuma-class destroyer escort vessels to the Philippines military was only made possible after the Japanese cabinet lifted a decades-old ban on exporting lethal weapons in April, reversing the nation's post-World War II policy. The move allows for it to sell weapons to more than a dozen countries. Many in Japan oppose the policy reversal. We actually witnessed demonstrations opposing this deal in front of both the House of Councillors as well as near the State Guest Palace in Tokyo, where the announcement was made.
Our constitution clearly states that Japan renounces armament and war. But Takaichi says none of that matters to her, even calling such ideas too naive. I can't believe someone like that became prime minister. This is absolutely unacceptable.
The purchase of missiles and other war armaments is the #1 priority in the agenda between the two state leaders. And we do not want to be dragged into a war that is not of our own making. We know that both the Japanese and the Filipino peoples will be severely affected by this decision of the two governments to knock on the doors of war here in Asia Pacific.
Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi also confirmed that the two governments will begin formal negotiations to establish GSOMIA, which is an acronym for General Security of Military Information Agreement between the two countries.
That was Najib Elkash on a controversial move in security cooperation between Japan and the Philippines. China's foreign ministry says Beijing has lodged a serious protest with the Philippines and Japan over their discussions on the continental shelf. This comes after the two countries launched talks on the delimitation of their exclusive economic zones and continental shelf in areas located east of China's Taiwan island. Beijing calls this a serious violation of China's maritime rights and international law, including the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. A spokesperson said China urges Japan and the Philippines to immediately stop any actions that harm China's maritime interests and help maintain regional peace and stability. Russia says a planned U.S. deployment of the Typhoon intermediate-range missile system in Japan threatens its national security interests and the stability of the Asia-Pacific region. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova says they'll view the move as a deliberate hostile action.
We have repeatedly drawn Tokyo's attention to the fact that providing Japanese territory to the United States for the deployment of intermediate-range and shorter-range missile systems, whether temporary, rotational, or permanent, would be seen by us as having a seriously negative impact on stability and security in the Asia-Pacific region. It would also pose a direct threat to Russia's far eastern borders. We have repeatedly warned Japan against making such decisions.
Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu also voiced concern over what he called Japan's gradual remilitarization. Speaking at an international security forum in Moscow, Shoigu said Japan is moving further away from the obligations it accepted after World War II. He also warned that the idea of forming what he described as an Asian NATO is a serious concern for Russia. He stressed that Moscow opposes any possible emergence of nuclear weapons in the Asia-Pacific region. Asia's largest multilateral defense and security forum opens in Singapore on Friday. A Chinese delegation from the People's Liberation Army National Defense University is attending the Shangri-La Dialogue. Jia Yunfei walks us through the agenda and the key issues likely to dominate discussions.
It's a gathering of government officials, especially military officials and military experts, security experts around the region. This is a dialogue around the security situation in Asia. Somehow it's also connected to the entire world. The reason why there are so many attendants over here is just because now the global security order is under challenge, especially given the situation in the Middle East as well as the security situation in Europe. While Asian community remain relatively peaceful, despite the fact that there is the coalition of Japan and Philippines provocation over the maritime issues. So certainly there should be dialogue and conversation among this. Attending the event, there are U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. In addition to government officials, we have seen on the speakers list, there is Secretary General of ASEAN and Secretary General of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. China also sent its delegation. The head of the delegation is Major General Meng Xiangqing. He is the professor of National Defense University. If we see the list of the Chinese delegation, we can see a lot of scholars and experts. One of the highlights on the agenda setting is there's a simultaneous session called Managing Threats to Strategic Stability. As Chinese Defense Ministry says that China attaches great importance to military cooperation, and China hopes that this is an opportunity to further deepen understanding among parties and further strengthen collaboration.
That was Jia Yunfei at the Shangri-La Hotel in Singapore. Coming up, conflicting reports over negotiations between the U.S. and Iran.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
At 21 past the hour. Media reports say American and Iranian negotiators have a memorandum of understanding to extend the ceasefire by 60 days and launch talks on Iran's nuclear program. News website Axios reported that U.S. negotiators briefed President Donald Trump on the details of the final deal, but he did not immediately sign off on it. Trump warned that military action remains an option if talks fail to produce a favorable outcome. Nick Harper has more from Washington.
Axios saying that there is now an agreement for a 60-day memorandum of understanding. During that 60-day period, the ceasefire would be extended and the real negotiations would begin. But there are a number of starting points for those rounds of negotiations. We're hearing from Axios that already Iran has committed not to pursue a nuclear weapon. But importantly, in order to get to that round of negotiations, Axios is saying that Donald Trump still needs to sign off on this. He has reportedly been briefed on the matter, but he apparently needs a couple of days to think about it, according to that reporting coming from two US officials who are not named. A number of other things that would be included during that 60-day period. The Strait of Hormuz would be reopened and it would be unrestricted, so Iran would not be imposing any tolls on any of the boats. They would also need to remove the mines during a 30-day period. And on top of that, the United States naval blockade against Iranian ports would be lifted gradually during the course of that 60 days. And when we get to the point that that 60-day window begins, we would see negotiations begin in earnest on many of the thorny issues, including, in particular, what would happen to the enriched uranium that Iran wants and that Washington wants it to hand over.
That was Nick Harper reporting. A source close to Iran's negotiating teams denied that the text of a proposed memorandum of understanding with Washington has been finalized. The source said any Western reports claiming the agreement's been completed lack credibility unless Iran formally notifies Pakistani mediators and makes the matter public. The source suggested a deal is close and the United States believes Iranians are negotiating in good faith. The energy crisis in Cuba has hit the country's healthcare sector hard. The island's facing severe shortages of oil and diesel under a U.S. fuel blockade. China's stepping in with critical support. Luis Chirino has more from Havana.
Cuba's energy crisis has impacted all areas of society, not the least of which is its healthcare system. Tens of thousands of patients are on a waiting list for needed surgeries due to the lack of energy to run equipment in operating rooms. Earlier this year, Cuban health authorities called for international support amid the crisis. China was already answering that call, donating thousands of solar panel systems to the island, many of which have already been installed in hospitals and medical centers. Officials at Havana's Abelardo Ramirez Polyclinic voiced relief after receiving one of the systems, saying they can once again cater to the needs of their patients.
Hoy tenemos cubierto
Today, we again have all emergency services available to the people, as well as our dental clinic, our intensive care unit, and our vaccination room, where we store vaccines for children and adults.
For doctors in the emergency services and the dental clinic, the solar technology has allowed them to get back to the business of providing care.
The solar panels have been very beneficial. Before they were installed, we could not offer appropriate services because all our dental equipment needs power to work.
We can now come to the doctor every day because the polyclinic now has electricity. I came for a medical consultation and also for eye services without fear of a blackout thanks to the solar panels they installed here.
In a recent interview with CGTN, China's ambassador to Havana, Wang Yi, reiterated his country's determination to assist Cuba amid the severe energy crisis.
And we'll continue to provide assistance to Cuban people in power and food sectors. Additionally, 5,000 sets of household solar equipment are being installed in community, polyclinic, and nursing homes.
Cuban authorities have expressed their gratitude, noting that the aid directly benefits thousands of Cuban families.
That was Luis Chirino on helping Cuba get through the energy crisis. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has announced that the UN 80 initiative has entered a critical new phase focused on decision-making and delivery. The initiative is a reform and restructuring effort designed to make the United Nations more effective, agile, and better equipped to face global challenges. Launched in March of last year, it aims to ensure that every mandate, dollar, and decision delivers greater impact for people and the planet, even as demands grow and resources become tighter. As part of this effort, Guterres says the UN has begun piloting the new humanitarian compact, which seeks to drive innovation, enhance impact, and improve integration. Early steps include simplifying humanitarian planning.
Unifying humanitarian supply chains, which account for 70% of overall humanitarian spending, strengthening the use of data and digital systems to better anticipate needs, target assistance, and improve interoperability across the humanitarian system, aligning roles and responsibilities across UN agencies, and strengthening humanitarian diplomacy. These new approaches are being piloted in 5 crisis settings: Afghanistan, Haiti, the occupied Palestinian territory, Somalia, and Sudan, and are looking at how they can be adapted and scaled for wider use.
A progress update released this week outlines steps already taken to improve efficiency, review how mandates are being implemented, and explore changes to the UN's internal structure, and works underway to streamline operations within the UN Secretariat and across the broader system. The initiative also aims to simplify administrative processes and strengthen services throughout the UN system. Scientists are warning that a vital ice shelf in West Antarctica is about to break away and further destabilize one of the world's largest and most vulnerable glaciers. Experts say the collapse of the Thwaites glaciers, dubbed as the Doomsday Glacier, may raise global sea levels by 65 centimeters, flooding coastal communities worldwide. A scientist with the British Antarctic Survey warns that the glacier's eastern ice shelf is very likely to break up this year. Researchers say the ice shelf restrains the flow of ice from the glacier into the sea. The largest glacier in West Antarctica has been melting since the 1980s, losing hundreds of billions of tons of ice, and it's retreated around 20 kilometers since 1992. Well, Portugal's recorded its highest temperature ever for May as a heat wave continues to affect regions south of the Tagus River. Moura reached 40.3 degrees Celsius on Wednesday, surpassing the previous national May record of 40 registered in 1953. The heat wave began on May 20th, concentrating on the Alentejo region and the Tagus Valley. Experts warned that more locations may enter heat wave conditions in the coming days and that the heat wave is likely to continue into the early days of next month. At 29 past the hour, Beijing clear overnight, sunny tomorrow, a low of 17, and the high is 33 on Saturday. Shanghai will be cloudy tonight and sunny tomorrow, a low of 19, the high is 30. Chongqing will be partly cloudy with a low of 20, high of 29. Nanchang will be mostly cloudy tomorrow, a low is 23, the high is 30 for Saturday. Last, we'll get showers turning to scattered clouds tonight, cloudy tomorrow, a low of 7 and a high of 22 degrees. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad's clear overnight, 22 degrees, sunny and 32 tomorrow. Vientiane will see a light rainfall tonight and tomorrow, a low of 26 and a high of 34. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, China's calling for greater efforts to advance United Nations reforms. China and other nations have expressed alarm over security and territorial discussions between Japan and the Philippines. And there are conflicting reports about a possible memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
From the refreshing cup of tea that starts your morning to the paper that you write on, the roots of many familiar parts of modern life can be traced back to ancient ideas. Join us on Made in Ancient China and discover how ideas born millennia ago became some of the world's greatest treasures. Made in Ancient China brings you stories of human ambition, inspiration, and connection. Now available on all major podcast platforms.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. Right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host,
Shane Bigham with you on this Friday. Still to come. In business, previewing the China South Asia Expo opening up soon in Kunming. In sports, a major upset at the French Open. In culture and entertainment, a small budget Chinese film continues to surprise at the box office. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTNradio. But now check out the day's headlines. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has put forward 9 proposals to advance global governance reform at the United Nations. While attending a meeting of the Group of Friends of Global Governance at the UN headquarters in New York, Wang stressed the importance of enhancing the voice of developing countries and small and medium-sized countries. He also called for efforts to adapt UN peacekeeping operations to the demands of the times and urged the establishment of rules for artificial intelligence governance. Wang said China will continue to uphold the banner of multilateralism and contribute to global governance through its own governance experience. A senior Iranian lawmaker says Tehran has no plans to transfer highly enriched uranium outside the country. The head of the Iranian parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee said the country will not be pushed back from its red lines by United States President Donald Trump. Russia's foreign ministry said Iran's stockpiles of highly enriched uranium belongs to Iran, and only the Iranian people have the right to determine their fate. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he's issued a directive to increase the Israeli military's control over Gaza from 60 to 70% of the territory. Netanyahu said they're grasping Hamas tightly from all sides. He added that Israel is in the process where it can leverage its power in many directions and still has to crush Hezbollah. The Israeli military said on Thursday it killed the head of a central Hamas funds transfer network on Tuesday. The European Union's adopted new restrictive measures targeting Israeli settler-linked entities and individuals accused of serious and systematic human rights abuses against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. In a statement on Thursday, the Council of the European Union said the sanctions apply to 4 entities and 3 individuals, including extremist settlers and organizations that support them. The head of the World Health Organization described the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo as highly complex. Arriving in Kinshasa, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said conflict and insecurity are making it much harder to contain the virus, and he once again called for a ceasefire. He also pointed to displacement and food shortages as additional obstacles.
People are displaced because of conflict. People were displaced hundreds of thousands and newly displaced around 100,000, I think, in the past few months. And that makes it very difficult to contain the outbreak. And the other, of course, is the food insecurity you see in the province and other neighboring provinces. That makes it difficult also.
The WHO chief also said the best approach is to intensify at the source and provide support. The DR Congo has so far reported over 1,000 suspected cases and more than 230 suspected deaths. The WHO has declared the outbreak, driven by the Bundibugyo strain, a public health emergency of international concern. The three host nations of this year's FIFA World Cup have announced aligned public health travel measures for individuals arriving from African regions at the highest risk from the Ebola virus. A joint statement says the coordinated approach aims to protect civilians, visitors, fans, athletes, and tourists. The U.S., Mexico, and Canada say the measures are also seeking to maintain travel and commerce across their borders. They say the health and safety of every person remains the highest priority. Canada banned residents from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, and South Sudan from entering the country for 90 days starting on Wednesday. The FIFA World Cup begins on June 11th. The Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket exploded on the launch pad during an engine hot fire test in Florida on Thursday. The private American space company later confirmed on X that it experienced an anomaly during testing, adding that all personnel had been accounted for. The incident occurred at about 9 p.m. Eastern Time during preparations for a planned engine firing test. CBS reported that no satellites, no payload was aboard the rocket at the time of the incident. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming up in business, previewing the China-South Asia Expo that's coming up in Kunming.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
36 past the hour. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed lower on Friday. The Shanghai Composite was down nearly 0.7%. The Shenzhen Component lost over 1.8%. Retail, tourism, and medical shares were among the top gainers. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index increased more than 0.7%. Japan's Nikkei climbed over 2.5%. This year's China-South Asia Expo will take place from June 11th to the 16th in Kunming. The expo aims to enhance economic and trade cooperation and will provide a large number of free booths for South Asian countries to help them promote their distinctive products. The event will feature specialized pavilions tailored for industry segments. A services trade pavilion will be established for the first time, focusing on artificial intelligence and digital trade, and showcasing key business models and innovation achievements in services trade. Organizers say the Green Energy Pavilion will promote China's cross-border electricity trading rules and the Green Electricity Certification System. The Manufacturing Pavilion will feature a special exhibition area for the low-altitude economy. Authorities will continue to hold the new product launch ceremony at the expo, unveiling over 60 products in fields such as the low-altitude economy and advanced manufacturing. An investment promotion conference under the theme Invest in Yunnan will also be held, aiming to generate a number of high-quality investment and cooperation outcomes domestically and internationally. German Economy Minister Katharina Reiche has visited Guangzhou on her first visit to China. German entrepreneurs in China have expressed optimism for deeper trade ties in sectors including new materials and green energy. Zheng Songwu tells us more about the roundtable conference in Guangzhou.
Over the past 5 years, China-Germany trade has remained at a high level of over $200 billion, as Vice Minister of China's Ministry of Commerce Lin Ji said at the conference. The number of German enterprises investing in China has reached 13,000. German industry leaders believe the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area is always an innovation hub.
I think Guangdong province, so especially like the Greater Bay Area, Dongguan, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, I think these are the innovation hub of China, or actually the world. I think there's not any other place in the world where you can develop products with this speed and with this supply chain so close by. I think there's no place like the GBA anywhere.
German Economy and Energy Minister Katharina Riesch said China is Germany's most important trading partner and that the bilateral trade has already reached 220 billion euros. She hoped that the bilateral trade would be further enhanced, while German entrepreneurs had already made their plans.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have a company here in Guangzhou. We are building a new lab, especially for the new battery and new energy systems. And we continue to invest into China, for sure. So we have 40 locations in China. We have more than 4,500 experts working here. And we continue our journey since now 1991.
Definitely. So what we are doing at the moment is the first one is we expand our activities in our Shanghai office. Then the second one is, which we explained a little bit earlier, to create more partnerships and strategic partnerships on the raw material side. As mentioned earlier, we are the innovative guys, and that fits together with new raw materials, which then create exactly for the photonics industry or for the AI, which we all need.
Amid global uncertainty, German industry leaders are deepening their engagement with China, and the minister's visit sends a clear message: China and Germany choose cooperation over confrontation. And the future of the relations between our two countries lies not in protectionism, but in deeper economic cooperation.
That was Zheng Songwu reporting. The World Intelligent Industry Expo is underway in Tianjin, featuring 6 themed exhibition areas, including core artificial intelligence technologies, embodied intelligence, and smart living. The 4-day event serves as a bridge for intellectual exchange and cooperation in the smart industry through various forms, such as exhibitions, competitions, and the release of achievements. This year's event also includes a dedicated immersive experience zone, showcasing the most representative, innovative technologies, cutting-edge products, and advanced achievements in the global smart technology sector. Jens de Boer is the managing director of JDB Holding.
So much technology, so much hope here. I think it's very important that we need a communication platform to come together, to have an exchange, and to speak about the future. I think everybody has to come here to see what's going on. With Europe and China, we can have a lot to improve.
A series of concurrent events will be held, including an AI-themed day, the Enterprise Ecology Conference, and market-oriented forums, as well as other activities such as bilateral negotiations, investment promotion, and smart experiences. The expos attracted dozens of Fortune Global 500 companies, nearly 40 of China's top 500 enterprises, and over 400 representative enterprises in the smart industry. China's delivered its first large-scale liquefied natural gas carrier equipped with domestically produced ultra-low temperature valves for the cargo containment system. This marks a major breakthrough in the country's ability to build a complete LNG vessel industrial chain from materials and design to auxiliary equipment. The LNG carrier, named Puteri Johor, measures 299 meters long and 46.4 meters wide. The vessel is equipped with 4 cargo tanks that can transport 174,000 cubic meters of LNG in a single voyage. Designers say the vessel's energy efficiency, loading capacity, and reliability have reached world-leading levels. Its carbon emissions are about 10 metric tons per day lower, and fuel use is down by roughly 10%. For the first time, the vessel's cargo containment system, the critical component that keeps LNG below minus 163 degrees Celsius, is fully equipped with domestically produced ultra-low temperature valves. U.S. economic growth in the first quarter was significantly slower than initially estimated, while consumer inflation remained elevated in April. According to a revised reading from the U.S. Commerce Department, GDP expanded at an annual rate of just 1.6% in the first 3 months. The figure represents a sharp downgrade from the initial estimate of 2%, missing market expectations that the earlier estimate would hold. Karina Mitchell has more.
Well, none of the U.S. economic data that we got during the trading session was particularly positive. Let's start with GDP. We got a second read, first quarter GDP for the period January through March. It came in softer than expected, just 1.6% growth, which is a pretty meager number, and it's off the estimate of 2% and the previous estimate of 2% as well. Now, the number was lower in part due to lower consumer spending, and businesses spent less on inventory as well. Although Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, said that analysis and analysts say that the current quarter, second quarter GDP should come in at 3.6%. Now, despite that softer quarter, we did see consumer spending rise in April, up by 0.5%, which on the surface may seem like consumers are quite resilient, but wages did not keep a pace. They came in flat for April. The estimate was to see a rise of 0.4%. And what this really shows is that consumers are now really feeling the pinch in their pocket when they come to spending on things, particularly gas prices, which are at a 4-year high at the moment. Now, this data was also borne out in the PCE data, personal consumption expenditures data for April, which came out. We saw a rise of 0.4% month over month. That's slightly lower than was expected, but year over year, that number comes in at 3.8%. PCE, the core number, when you strip out volatile food and energy, came in at 3.3%. But the headline number is the highest it's been in 3 years, since May of 2023. It's higher than the March reading of 3.5 and the February read of 2.8. So you can see inflation is trending in the wrong direction quickly. This is the first inflation report that's come out under the new Federal Reserve Chair, Kevin Warsh, and I have said he is going to have his work cut out for him, because in this inflationary environment, it is very hard for this Federal Reserve to justify cutting rates. And in fact, traders are betting that the Fed will sit out till the end of the year, and the first move that they do make will likely be to hike rates. We'll have to wait and see what happens with all of that.
That was Karina Mitchell reporting. As the summer travel season approaches, China's tourism market is gaining fresh momentum, driven by increasingly sophisticated travelers and the deep integration of AI. According to Alliance Partners China, Chinese travelers are more purposeful and mature than in previous years, a shift captured in the company's latest global data. The company says the personalization extends well beyond trip planning, and AI is also playing an increasingly critical role in protecting travelers' safety and financial well-being. It adds that the company's embedded a lot of AI tools into the claims process, significantly reducing manual inputs and labor-intensive work. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, a major upset at the French Open.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past now, and turning to sports. Here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Shane. In a major shock at the French Open, Yannick Sinner's career Grand Slam bid is on hold. The world number one was knocked out in the second round by Juan Manuel Cerundolo. Sinner took the first 2 sets and led 5-1 in the third before struggling with a cramp. He lost the 6 straight games and eventually fell in 5 sets.
I didn't feel very well on court, but can happen. Was in a good spot, also third set, but I couldn't serve it out, and then struggled quite a bit. But also congrats to him. I don't want to take anything away from him. He played a very solid match, especially also in the end, and that's the sport.
Cerundolo is the first man to beat the top seed before the third round at Roland Garros since 2000.
Of course, I'm super happy with the match. The match was almost lost, but of course I stay mentally during the whole match. I was prepared for battling as long as it takes, and when I was lucky that he cramped and his level went down, but of course mine went up even though. And as I stay mentally really focused on the match, trying to do my best every ball, and super happy for making the win.
Elsewhere, 10th seed Flavio Cobolli defeated China's Wu Yibing in straight sets. Wu was struggled with injuries over the past 2 seasons and had reached the second round for his best result at the Roland Garros. Cobolli will next face Lina Tian. In the women's doubles event, Zhang Shuai and Alice Mertens have overcome Alicia Parks and Laura Pigosi in a marathon first-round match. They took the first set 6-2, but dropped the second 6-4. Zhang and Mertens then won the decisive tiebreak 10-6 to seal the victory after 2 hours and 21 minutes.
I teamed up with Alicia Parks twice before, so I'm quite familiar with her style. She can be really powerful and hard to play against in a rally. The weather is also quite hot, and my teammate Elise Mertens just finished a singles match, so she was already tired. So I wasn't expecting to win this time, and I'm really happy to be able to play another match.
Zhang Shuai will also compete in the mixed doubles event. Brazil's World Cup preparations are underway, but Neymar is a doubt for their opening match. The 34-year-old was named to Carlo Ancelotti's 26-man squad for his fourth World Cup. After arriving at training camp, tests revealed a grade 2 calf injury. Neymar is unlikely to be fit for Brazil's opener against Morocco on June 13th in New Jersey. Team doctors are working to get him back as soon as possible. Lionel Messi is among the 26 players on Argentina's squad for the FIFA World Cup, which begins next month in the United States, Mexico and Canada. 17 players from the 2022 championship team return, including Enzo Fernandez and Emiliano Martinez. Argentina opens its campaign against Algeria on June 16th in Group J, following friendlies against Honduras and Iceland. Manager Lionel Scaloni's attack also features Lautaro Martinez and Julian Alvarez. The three-time World Cup champions seek to defend the title. And finally, with the FIFA World Cup just weeks away, a Spanish football legend has been helping youngsters in the southwestern Chinese province, promoting the sport at the grassroots level. Yang Jinhao reports.
If you're a seasoned football fan, this name would need no introduction. Manuel Sanchez, former Real Madrid captain and one of the defining figures of the club's golden generation. More than 25 years after hanging up his boots, the Spanish football legend has made a journey to a very different stage, Jinping County in southwest China's Yunnan province, right on the China-Vietnam border. There, Sanchez joined local students on the football pitch, sharing training tips and encouraging them to keep chasing their football dreams.
My first impression is that the children here are always smiling and full of joy.
That joy reflects a wider push for football education in the country.
Across rural China, football is becoming an increasingly important part of school education, opening new doors for children in mountainous areas. Today, the visit of the Spanish football icon is expected to inspire these young players to aim even higher.
I've learned about Mr. Sanchez online, and I really admire his loyalty to Real Madrid. I'm very grateful to have received his guidance, including tips on passing techniques.
The local government says it will continue to set up efforts to support children's development.
With 34 years of diplomatic assistance, we have invested 127 million yuan in education, built 516 school facilities. In the future, we will keep strengthening youth sports, improve facilities, bring more high-quality events and resources here to use sports to power high-quality rural revitalization.
While meeting with the visiting Spanish president in April, Chinese President Xi Jinping proposed strengthening bilateral exchanges in cooperation in culture, education, and sports. And Sanchez's visit reflects this growing momentum.
When it comes to sport, especially football, which is the area I know best, Spain is a leading country. That means we have highly advanced training methods, especially in youth development, as well as the basic equipment and resources needed at grassroots level. So I believe there is real potential for Spain to provide guidance and support in these areas.
Sanchez says he hopes to return to China soon and to see football continue to grow and thrive in more rural areas.
That was Yang Jinhao reporting.
All right, thank you very much. And that was Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, a small-budget Chinese film continues its surprising success at the domestic box office.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
53 past the hour now. Turning to culture and entertainment. China's word-of-mouth hit Dear You has struck an emotional chord with viewers across the country, turning a niche story of handwritten letters, separation, and enduring love into a nationwide conversation about family and memory. The small-budget film has raked in over 1.2 billion yuan in box office. Zhang Chuning has more.
No major stars. No blockbuster budget. And much of it is spoken in the Teochew dialect. Yet Dear You has become one of China's biggest surprise hits, moving audiences across the country to tears.
What surprised us is that audiences from completely different parts of China are sharing the same emotional response. Whether you are from Chaoshan or northern China, people understand this idea of loyalty, sacrifice, and emotional responsibility. Those values have been passed down through generations in Chinese families.
Set against the backdrop of southern China's overseas migration history, the film centers on Qiaopi, handwritten letters and remittances once sent home by Chinese migrants in Southeast Asia. At the heart of the story is Ye Shurou, a grandmother who spends decades waiting for her husband to return home. But the man she's been writing to is already dead. Unknown to her, another woman has continued sending letters and money in his name for 18 years, helping to keep her family alive. Two women, never meeting, yet connected through sacrifice, loyalty, and quiet compassion. The story draws heavily from real historical records. In the early 20th century, millions of southern Chinese migrants left for Southeast Asia, mailing home money and letters that carried both financial support and emotional connection. In 2013, the Qiaopi archives were added to UNESCO's Memory of the World Register. The film's success also came without celebrity casting, as two young leads were relative newcomers, one still a university student, the other taking temporary jobs between auditions. But their understated performance helped transform a local dialect story into a nationwide phenomenon.
Growing up in Chaoshan gave me endless stories to tell. Local stories can also become universal stories.
At a time when spectacle often dominates the screen, Dear You is reminding audiences of something simpler, that honesty, memory, and human connection can still be cinema's greatest power.
That was Zhang Chuning reporting. A group of Harvard students and professors has been touring China. They've been left awestruck by the world's highest bridge in landlocked Guizhou province. The Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge, soaring 625 meters high, has cut travel time between two sides of the canyon from 2 hours to just 2 minutes. Akiyama Motoko called the experience eye-opening.
People should definitely come and see. I don't think many bridges have these platforms where you can walk on. Learning about how much technology and innovation there is, this has been a very eye-opening experience for me.
The group also visited local schools, tried traditional indigo dyeing, and built friendships with Chinese students. Carla Isabel Gamara Martinez said the trip reshaped her understanding of China's education system. The visit is part of the 50,000 in 5 years initiative to bring young Americans to China. We're at 57 past the hour. Checking the forecast before we go. Beijing's clear overnight, sunny tomorrow. The low 17, the high is 33 on Saturday. Shanghai will be cloudy tonight, sunny tomorrow, low of 19, a high of 30. Chongqing's partly cloudy with a low of 20 and a high of 29. Nanchang will be mostly cloudy tomorrow, the low is 23, it's up to 30 on Saturday. Lastly, we'll have showers turning scattered clouds tonight, fully cloudy tomorrow, low of 7 and a high of 22. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will be clear, sunny tomorrow, a low of 22 and a high of 32. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, China's calling for greater efforts to advance United Nations reforms. And China and other nations have expressed alarm over security and territorial discussions between Japan and the Philippines. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio